using the continuum of teaching practice, we're going to start at Standard 6 and give you an opportunity to reflect on yourself as a professional educator.
Okay.
Again, this isn't meant to be evaluative. It's just an opportunity for you to reflect on your teaching right now at this point.
Okay.
It's adjustable, so throughout the year we'll be coming back to this document and making some notes on it, giving you an opportunity to think about what's going on in the class and then just reflect on your teaching.
All right.
So we'll start at the beginning of Standard 6, and 6.1 is reflecting on your teaching practice in support of student learning. And there's some different categories, and I just want you to kind of look through them and see about where you would place yourself on this continuum. Entering maybe your first year, you might be in the emerging category, but then as the year progresses, or now this being your second year, you might place yourself somewhere else.
Yeah.
As you start to look at those, we're going to think of what evidence that you have that can support your placement of yourself at a certain point. Thinking about things like, do you have student work that might show it? Do you have a classroom observation that maybe I've done or your supervisor's done, or student work, I think I said that, just opportunities to prove sort of or provide evidence that you are where you say you are.
Right.
Okay? No one's really going to use this to evaluate you. This is just your take on your practice.
Okay. Well, for the first one, for 6.1, reflecting on teaching practice in support of student learning, I would probably place myself in the applying category.
Okay.
I see myself in the applying stage just because I know that in our conversations I know I'm reflecting individually. I'm kind of a perfectionist, so I know that I do that often.
Okay.
And then I'm also talking with you a lot. So I definitely could use reflection as a piece of evidence for that. And then the other thing is classroom observation could be a piece of evidence too.
What
just
part
because
of the classroom observation gives you evidence that you would be in that applying?
Well, I think that at the beginning of the lesson, one student, Ben, asked for help on how to divide decimals.
Okay.
And that one wasn't necessarily the lesson from yesterday that we were reviewing. That was a lesson from a couple weeks ago. But I reflected and I realized that he needed that piece right then and there. And I know that he's not the only one. And so I took the time to adjust my teaching strategy there and took the 2 or 3 minutes to reteach the dividing decimals idea.
So during the observation, checking in with Ben and giving him the opportunity to answer his question was the evidence from the observation?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then I'm going to date it from today, since today was the observation already.
Okay. And then I wonder, we probably should make a note here that it was an opportunity, maybe you can use a code that you checked in with a student and modified your lesson to meet his need.
Okay.
Just a quick narrative. It doesn't have to be, complete sentences.
Right.
Just kind of give someone an idea if, they needed more information. They could look
So
there.
I just wrote classroom observation. I did a reteach due to his question.
Okay, perfect. All right,
Okay.
let's go on
Number
to the
two.
next one.
Number 2, establishing professional goals and engaging in continuous and purposeful professional growth and development.
You did tell me about a conference that you're going to go to give you some new information.
Yeah. I want to go to a whole brain teaching conference. I've already done a lot of research on my own online to look at examples, videos, and such. And that's kind of where I started with the whole idea of whole brain teaching. So I'd love to go to a more focused conference so I can learn specific skills because I know it's very multifaceted.
So would that be more applying or integrating? Why don't you highlight the pieces of
Sets
each
and
one of those
manifest
that you
authentic
think
goals.
applied to you? Because
Okay.
it's perhaps could be some in one and some in the other, and then we'll just make a decision, or you can make a decision about which one.
Okay. I think I'm going
Best
to
describes
do
you.
the integrating for this first paragraph.
Okay.
Because I'm setting and modifying my goals.
Okay.
And
in terms of setting goals, what evidence do you have about that? Could that be your lesson plans for this particular lesson?
yeah, I mean, it could be Some of it is reflection. Just from last year, I was reflecting, and I wanted to set the goal of letting kids learn from kids.
Okay.
And so I guess that would be a reflection piece
Okay, so
that I
you can
could use
mark
for
that under-
evidence.
all right.
Engages in and contributes to professional development target on student achievement, pursues a variety of additional opportunities to learn professionally. Okay, so pursues a variety of additional opportunities. That one we just talked about. in
Attending
that-
the conference.
Well, attending the conference, and then also getting ideas from you and researching other ideas about checking for understanding.
Okay.
So I'm going to pursue those opportunities to learn professionally.
Okay.
The piece of evidence for that would be the classroom observation again, because you observed that I did not check for understanding.
Okay, so some continued work with checking for understanding, and you're going to go to that conference. That might help with some of those pieces.
Yeah, all right. So 6.4, working with families to support student learning. I definitely provide opportunities and support for families actively participating in classroom and school.
How do you do that?
Well, I post weekly assignments on Edline, which is our school website.
Okay.
I record student grades in their agendas every Thursday.
Okay.
I respond.
Let's write some of those down, then
Okay.
you don't have to.
I respond to emails and phone calls really quickly within 24, usually within 3 hours, but
Okay.
within 24 hours. Edline
And Edline is your system of communicating with the parents about grades and homework?
grades and homework, yeah, and then upcoming events and things too.
Okay.
And then I also communicate to families in ways which show understanding of and respect for culture norms. I don't really understand that one.
That just means like if there was a Spanish-speaking family,
yeah.
you have resources
Yeah.
available to communicate with them in Spanish.
Yeah, and we did. We had a parent conference with an interpreter
Okay.
in September.
Good. And
So I
then
definitely
any
do that.
kind of material that you might send home that you know.
Yeah,
that
flyers and
parent-
things.
Okay, good. So
Yeah.
that's maybe been translated. All right. So
Yeah.
maybe write that down, that you have opportunities to give material in native languages to your families.
Yep. And our ELD person is really good too. She's always making herself accessible.
So again, these sound like reflections that you've made,
Okay.
but they're also available and are shown like in your lesson plans, and maybe it's woven into your lesson plan where you've been consciously making an
Every
effort
Thursday,
to, right.
every Thursday it's in my lesson plan. I have a
So-
little mini conference with each kid
So
as I
that
write
may
their
be
binder.
evidence. In your lesson plans, you've made a note that you're going to respond to
Every
parents
Thursday.
with grades.
Yeah.
And I know it's a school norm that you respond on Edline every day
Right.
about homework.
Right.
So again, that's evidence that you're communicating with your parents, because they can go to Edline and check.
Yeah.
They can go online and check. They can look in their binder.
Right.
So we can go ahead and call that evidence found in your lesson plans.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go on.
6.6, managing professional responsibilities to maintain motivation and commitment to all students.
Well, I would definitely say that's during the observation. I observed you doing that today with your whole brain teaching, motivating your students. You could tell by the grin on the face. So, you know, by
Yeah.
the smiles, by them actively participating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anticipates professional responsibility, manages time and effort required to meet expectations. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's just a constant trying to manage time to do everything.
And what do you think about this maintains belief in students' capacity for achievement and their diverse learning needs?
Well, again, I pursues a way to support students' diverse learning needs. I think this whole brain teaching, again, for the classroom observation,
Okay.
the whole brain teaching, it does that great. You know, it supports kids with diverse learning needs. It lets kids that want to talk,
Okay.
and it lets kids that need to listen and need to practice listening. It lets them practice
Okay.
listening, and it gets kids moving, which is always good too. So.
Okay.
All right, and then the last one. Demonstrating professional responsibility, integrity, and ethical conduct. Follows all state codes, takes responsibility for student academic outcomes. Yes, I do that.
And part of this information that's in this standard, we looked at on the class profile. Do you remember
Right.
the forms that we did about preparing for inquiry? A lot of this information we've looked at
Yeah.
there. So I know you're aware of a lot of these things.
Yeah.
The student needs, I know you've done some work looking
Yeah.
at the individuals that are in your classroom.
Our non-negotiables, our English
Okay.
language learners,
Right.
special needs. I already know who my RSP kids are.
Okay.
I don't know if you caught, but I had to tell one girl, Hunter,
Okay.
I every day I decrease her homework load.
Okay.
It's not that the questions are easier, but I make her assignment shorter. So I'm always making sure.
Okay, so you're
So-
making adjustments for the individual needs in
Yeah,
your classroom?
yeah. Understand and implement school and district policies. I do
Okay.
that. I comply with legal and professional
And
obligations.
I've seen you do some research on that, and you've included that in your school profile.
Yeah.
Those beginning papers that we did, so this is definitely something that you've been
Yeah.
concerned with.
So I'd say this is definitely a reflection piece.
Okay.
And then,
So maybe you could write that you've gathered some of the evidence from your class profile and the demographics, all those beginning papers for the preparing for inquiry.
Yep.
Okay.
all right.
All
I'm
right,
looking
so
forward
next
to
time we'll take this and we will transfer this onto the new program that's online.
Okay.
And then I will check into the evidence codes and make sure that I'm communicating that to you carefully and properly.
Okay.
And I'll do some of my own learning in that area.
Okay.
And then we'll meet again to enter this and go forward with your inquiry.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks.